Today I'm going to bring you a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, bring you comics news, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching the Comic Hero Show. Now kick that logo! Welcome to this week's edition of the Comic Hero Show. I'm your host Victor Dudley, and I am the Comic Hero. It's Mardi Gras season, y'all, and Mardi Gras is the annual carnival season that starts either on or after the Epiphany or Three Kings Day, culminating on the day before Ash Wednesday. Now, the word Mardi Gras means Fat Tuesday, and it refers to the practice of the last night of eating rich and fatty foods before the ritual fasting of the Lenten season, and this runs all the way through Easter. Now, I say this every year whenever I do Mardi Gras episodes of the show, but the three colors for Mardi Gras are green, purple, and gold. And all three of those colors represent three important principles. Green represents faith, purple represents justice, and gold represents power. And on this episode, I'm wearing a green Mardi Gras comic hero tee because I believe faith is the most important thing out of those three principles. And you can see the Argyle pattern inside, or the Harley Quinn pattern inside, and then also the mask. And then on the sleeves, I have a heart with a cross, which represents faith. Now, as many of y'all know, I'm a man of faith, and I'm not ashamed to say it. And faith is very important to me, because without faith, nothing's possible. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts or any about it. There's no way around it. All right, now y'all probably heard me right when y'all heard me at the beginning of it. I said that I was going to give away a free T-shirt. I mean, I left that out for a reason because I wasn't able to do episode 295 until the end of last week, and I felt that it wouldn't be fair to give away a free T-shirt on this episode. That and only 3 people have answered the free T question of the week correctly. So I mean that doesn't give folks a lot of time to watch it and answer the question. So here's the question again for episode 297. Which comic book character outsold the comics industry? Which comic book character outsold the entire comics industry throughout most of the 1940s? Now here's a hint. This character had their own movie that came out last year, and it starred Zachary Levi. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. All right, now, D'Angelo Blue from Warren, Ohio has requested a Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown fight, and this one features the Armored Avenger against one of the most deadliest villains in the Dragon Ball saga. Representing Marvel, we have Iron Man. And representing Bird Studios, we have Cell. These two are going to duke it out in a segment I like to call
The Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown.
Welcome to the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Today, it's Iron Man versus Cell. Iron Man possesses genius-level intellect and is a proficient scientist and engineer. With his powered armored suit, he possesses superhuman strength and durability, supersonic flight, energy repulsor and missile projection, and regenerative life support. Cell is a master martial artist with superhuman strength, endurance, speed, flight, and energy beam manipulation. He also possesses a stinging tail, which he uses to absorb others by either stabbing them in the tail to dissolve them, or engulfing them within it to consume them. It is by absorbing others that he increases his own power. He can also create many versions of himself. Who will win? Cell has an upper hand in his fight with being a master martial artist. He delivers a series of punches and kicks to Iron Man, but the latter would only suffer a few minor dents. Iron Man would then come back with a series of repulsor beams and missiles. As a result, Iron Man blows off Cell's lower body. This proves to be unsuccessful due to Cell's regeneration. Cell then uses his tail to absorb Iron Man. His first attempt proves to be unsuccessful, with Iron Man's suit being made of an unknown metal. Iron Man then says, "Yeah, I don't think that's going to work." Cell then increases the size of his tail and engulfs Iron Man whole. Cell wins. But wait! Just minutes later, Cell begins to feel uncomfort and then shuts down. How? While being engulfed, Iron Man uses a pin particle to shrink down to microscopic size. He then ventures through Cell's body and notices that the only way to defeat him is to destroy his android heart, which he does by firing a series of missiles at it. Iron Man then leaves Cell's dead carcass, returns to his regular size, and, for good measure, activates a bomb only inches away from Cell and walks away as it explodes. Iron Man wins, and that concludes this fight on the Comic Hero Throwdown Showdown. Thank you, D'Angelo Ballou, for that fight. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll have another one for next week. Now it's time for Comically Speaking, so without further ado, let's talk comics! All right, now, most recently got caught up with Fantastic Four. Now, they've been going through a lot. I mean, this series is written by Dan Slott with art by Sarah Pichelli. And it really just starts off with, in the Marvel miniseries Secret Wars, where they had thought where Reed, Sue, and their kids, and then several members of the Future Foundation had thought to have perished after the result of Secret Wars, but we find out that wasn't true. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Ben was at one point a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then Johnny was a member of both the Avengers and the Inhumans. Well, they find out that there's a chance that they're still alive, and they go from universe to universe trying to find them. They were unsuccessful, but then they found out, without a shadow of a doubt, that they were alive, and not only that, but they were recreating the multiverse. And they come back to Earth, and then when they come back to Earth, Ben proposes to Alicia, and then they get married. And then, because they didn't really have a place to stay, they ended up staying on 4 Yancey Street. Of course, Yancey Street, that's the street that Ben grew up on. And then, they go on a honeymoon and all that, and leave the kids with the things on Petunia, and then they steal parts from a truck, and then build this weapon of mass destruction or whatever, but I mean, it's been great. But one thing about it is the current story arc going on called Point of Origin. Now, at the beginning of this, the Fantastic Four have the rocket that they went into spaceship. They went to space in, and then got their cosmic powers inside the Smithsonian Museum, and they named it the Marvel One. But then Reed ended up getting this idea about building a second one. And he and Johnny build it. They call it the Marvel 2. And it's a lot stronger, a lot sturdier, a lot faster than the Marvel 1. And so they tell Sue about it and say, hey, let's go. And then they tell Ben about it. He's like, heck no. And then he and Alicia are having dinner, and having breakfast, and he's like, the nerve of those people to go back into space, to go back to the place where we got our cosmic powers from. And but then he sees that they have Herbie off of the pilot seat. He's like, nope, I'm not letting a robot, excuse me, to every English teacher I just had, I'm not letting a robot do my job. So he ends up going. But here's the thing: Alicia and then all the other members of the Fantastic Four knew he was going to change his mind. But anyway, here's the thing: when they went to space, when they got their cosmic powers, they found this planet that was habitable to human life. That was habitual for human life. And so what they did was, so they went back to it again. And the planet is called Spire. And the ruler of it is the Overseer. They find out that all the people on that planet have cosmic-based powers just like theirs. But here's the one thing about the Fantastic Four that a lot of folks don't know. The Fantastic Four's powers, the powers they have are all according to their personalities. I mean, you have Mr. Fantastic, who stretches himself beyond means, so therefore he has elasticity. You have the Invisible Woman that feels that, you know, she's invisible, so the invisible but strong, so the invisibility and all that. And there's the Thing that, you know, who has a very rocky personality, so rock-like figure. And then Human Torch, who's a complete hothead and runaway freight train, so flame on. But anyway, the Overseer, what he does, it was believed that the same cosmic rays that the Fantastic Four got their powers from, well, he harnessed and made everyone, once they got on the planet, they came of age to get into a chamber to receive powers. And those that received powers that didn't become disfigured stayed on the good side of the planet, where all those that became disfigured ended up on a lower end. Now, that's unfortunate. And when the four end up getting on the planet, the Reed, Sue, and Johnny end up on the good side, and Reed ends up on a lower end, all because he's disfigured, or that's what they say, disfigured. And a lot's happened, but then they later find out that the Overseer didn't just harness the power cosmic or the cosmic rays, but he also created the cosmic rays that gave the Fantastic Four their powers. And that's where we leave off. And oh boy, Dan Slott is really doing such a great job writing this, with Sarah McKelly doing the artwork. You can't wait to read more. I think Point of Origin Part 5, that issue was one of the comics featured in the comics I bought this week on last week's episode. I haven't gotten to it. Can't wait to read it. Alright, that's it for Comically Speaking. Now let's get to the comics I bought this week.
Comic books I bought this week.
Alright, first up, it's actually comics number 1019. The Amazing Spider-Man number 38. Avengers number 30. Batman number 87. Captain Marvel number 14. Fallen Angels number 6. The Flash number 87. Guardians of the Galaxy number 1. New volume. The Immortal Hulk number 30. Justice League number 39. And finally, Shazam number 10. Alright, that's 11, which brings the total number of comics that I've bought since December of 1997 to 9,843. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Here's a question for next week's episode. Which comic book character outsold the entire comics industry throughout most of the 1940s? Now, here's a hint. This character had a movie that came out last year that starred Zachary Levi. Everyone who answers correctly been entered in a drawing for a free tea on next week's episode of the show. All right, it's you know what? Now I hope y'all enjoyed that little information about Mardi Gras that I gave you at the beginning of the episode. I'm going to do that every episode throughout the month. Every episode this month will be Mardi Gras themed. And Mardi Gras is one of my favorite times of the year. And a lot of times, we take for granted what Mardi Gras really means. It's a celebration of life. Of just enjoying yourself. I mean, it's not to get. I mean, just to reflect on life. Just to reflect on just how great life can be. In spite of all of our personal problems and any other bouts of adversity. And the three principles. The three principles: faith, justice, and power. And they really mean a lot. And on next week's episode, I'm going to wear a purple Mardi Gras comic hero tee. Now, purple in Mardi Gras represents justice. And then, of course, in episode 298, gold, which represents power. And then in episode 299, the last of the 200s, I'm also going to wear it's going to be a Mardi Gras / Ash Wednesday comic hero tee, because that episode, when I'm going to do it, it's going to be 2 days before Ash Wednesday, or the day before Fat Tuesday. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end Mardi Gras 2020 with a bang. It's going to go out with a bang, and I'm going to. And now, I didn't have any delicacies or anything like that. I didn't have any king cake or crawfish or gumbo or jambalaya or anything like that for on this week's episode. I'll try to have stuff for next week, and I just want to thank everyone that reached out to me when I was unable to do episode 295 until the end of last week. I want to thank y'all. I mean, it was nothing. I mean, it was just a personal matter that prevented me from doing the show, but adversity is temporary. And I'm glad I got past it. And adversity, and you can get past it too. I mean, adversity for all of us, I mean, it never lasts. It's only temporary. I mean, yeah, sure, it may seem like there's no end in sight, but there's always an end in sight. Alright, I'm Victor Dudley on a Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 297. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.